So this course has been designed specifically to support students' executive functioning, and executive functioning is really just the all the different processes that help students to get organized, to manage their time, to set goals and achieve those goals. These are all the things we think of as executive functions. And some people have compared executive functions to the executive assistant of the brain, or the administrative assistant of the brain, right? It helps us to monitor our calendar, to keep us organized, to make sure we're on task and moving toward goals. And so when students have difficulties with executive functioning, then some things that wouldn't normally be super overwhelming for them may in fact be overwhelming. And so we can design our Canvas courses so that we are reducing the extra or the extraneous cognitive load that students have to spend on navigating, on making sure they know when things are due, by setting up our Canvas courses in a very specific way. So I'm going to just talk you through a couple pieces that I want to make sure we point out. And then, of course, you're welcome to take a tour of this Canvas course on your own. So I wanted to start out by pointing out the fact that the home page, the landing page, if you will, for this course takes you to a really nice looking screen, right? You've got Start Here, you have a syllabus link, and then you have a link to the modules. And so this is really helpful whenever students open this course for the very first time, to have a Start Here, a place that they can quickly know right as soon as they open that up where they need to go. So something else I wanted to point out about the home page is if you scroll down here to the bottom, you can see that this instructor has placed the module for this week directly here on the home page. So if students didn't want to navigate, or maybe didn't know to navigate to the modules page, it would also be here for them. And then the idea is that you would update that each week, so that each week that week's module would appear on the same home page. Now I want to go just for a moment into student view so that I can show you what this looks like to the student. So when a student comes in, you can see that the course itself is nice and tidy. You don't have a lot of extra things over here in the navigation bar on the left side. These are really just the things that the students will need. So things like files are not here. It looks like this instructor may not use announcements. Announcements are not here either. So you can really decide what things you want there, what things are really important, and then you can kind of turn off the viewing for those for the students. And I'll show you in a moment when we go back into the regular instructor view that those things don't disappear for the instructor, they just disappear for the students. The other thing I wanted to point out on this page is the to-do list, which you can see is over here toward the right. So as long as instructors have added the due dates into Canvas, then those things appear on students' to-do list. And we found that over the course of COVID-19, when really almost all courses were online, students were really relying on that to-do list to make sure that they were staying on top of the things that were due for them for their different courses. And so we can help reduce students' cognitive load by making sure that we're entering all of our assignments with a due date. And I would even encourage you to enter assignments that maybe students would hand in person rather than on Canvas. I would still add those to your Canvas course so that that due date will continue to pop up over here in their to-do list. It will also show up in their course calendar. So I can take you to that real quickly. And students have the option when they get into their course calendar, they can actually just look at it for one course at a time, or they can look at all of their courses together. So you can imagine how helpful this would be for students to have this all in one place where they can quickly take a look and see what things are due for them that week. So I'm going to move us out of student view. So when I come back to the main page, I want to also point your attention to the modules link. Now, of course, students are able to use the modules over here, and you'll see that now that I'm looking at the instructor view, I have all of the options here. But again, when we were in student view, we've turned off, and you can see the little eyeball things here that show that that does not show up for students. So you have the opportunity to do that as well. So if we go into the modules page, there are a couple of things I wanted to point out on this page. We've actually designed two different ways that you could support students' executive functioning. And we kind of did that so that you would know there's not really one specific way to do it correctly. As long as you're kind of thinking ahead about the way that you're organizing things so that students don't have to go hunting, that's really what we're looking for. So we wanted to show you a couple ways to do that. The first way is what we've called approach one here. So that's really taking all of the things that are due in that module or for that week and putting them into one single page. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So let's go to this Start Here document. And so this is week 0, right? So these are things that we would want students to do before the first week of classes. And so I've titled that Stuff to Do Before the First Week of Classes, so they're very clear. So you can see that everything the student needs to do that week is in one place, all in one list. There are not multiple entries when you look at the Canvas page, when you look at the module. There's just this one thing, and then everything is linked directly from here. So if a student wanted to get to the syllabus, they could get to that right here. If they were ready to download this app, which is called Flipgrid, they could do that right here. Their assignments also linked right here. And then something else I wanted to point out too, and this is a best practice that you can include all throughout your Canvas course, but is to add those what we like to call just-in-time resources. And that's really helpful as well for supporting executive functioning, because then a student doesn't have to leave Canvas to go try to find the answer to something. You've kind of anticipated that and added that here. So in this case, the instructor recognized that some students may not be familiar with using this particular website, so they've just provided a very quick tutorial so that is provided there, and students don't have to go out and hunt for how do I even use this thing. Let me go back to modules so that I can show you the other approach. So that first approach again was just using everything but all in one page. The second approach, and you can see that's titled here, this is where you have individual pages and a task is listed on each of the pages. So I'm going to actually go down to the week 2 module. So you can see that instead of having everything all together on one page or one line, you've got individual lines or individual pages for different things. So there is still a module for this one, and that would be linked there. But you can also see there are readings, there are in-class activities, there are assignments, and breaking them up into these chunks or pieces is also really helpful because it helps students to know what thing belongs to what category. And if they're looking for an assignment, they could very quickly just skim down through here and say, oh, here are the assignments, and then they would be able to click directly into their assignment. So something else I wanted to point out is just the fact that there is something like a Getting Started page. And in the first approach, that would be the same thing as this week 0. That's really helpful for students who are new to using Canvas, but also who are new to your course and how your course is set up. So you can see in this version down here, the Getting Started version, there's just sort of a basic overview of what this course is going to look like. You can see that there's a link out to Canvas student orientation, so possibly students are brand new to Canvas. And the instructor has also added a link to a Zoom student orientation so that if students are not familiar, this is a good place for them to get started. The other thing I think is really useful about this particular layout is that the instructor has numbered these things. So 1, 2, 3. When you number something, that really makes it very clear. What you're doing is visually cueing. You're giving a visual cue for students to know, oh, okay, so it looks like these things need to be done in a certain order. This needs to be done first. That's why it's number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. So that's a really great way to also support executive functioning is by using visual cueing. Another thing I wanted to point out is that the instructor, now this one isn't this is a kind of like, not really a tutorial, but this is something that you would download and then change to make your own, right? A template, if you will. And so this instructor has added a place where they're going to add in the estimated reading time or the amount of time that it might take a student to do that reading. So I wanted to show you also what that might look like. So I think we can look in week 1 here. So you'll see that this week students are going to read from a book called Design and Deliver, and then it tells you, this is the reading selection, pages 23 to 41, and then this estimated reading time, that's what ERT stands for there. They're saying that in order to read this selection, you're going to need about 30 to 45 minutes. So when we add in those estimated reading times, that's really helping students to plan ahead so that they can make sure they have enough study time. So as you have a moment or two in your time to take a look at this course, hopefully you'll notice other pieces that will be really useful in supporting executive function. And really, we're just thinking about things that are going to help students navigate quickly to information, things that are going to help students manage their time a little bit better, and things that are going to help students be able to stay organized as they try to navigate and move through multiple courses at the same time.